Hello, welcome to this video. We're going to learn about differentiation, particularly about chain rule. And we're going to use the chain rule to solve the question shown on the screen. Okay, let's read the question. Find the coordinates of the point on the curve y equals square root of x squared minus 6x plus 13, where the gradient is 0. Okay, so the assignment that we need to achieve is to get a set of coordinates, meaning our final answer supposed to have an x, supposed to have an y. So that is our ultimate mission. And then the clue. What are the clue given to us in these questions? They give to us the condition where the gradient is 0. And what is gradient? English word says in mathematical notation. Yes, we know that gradient is represented by the notation dy dx. And when they say gradient is 0, it tells us at some point of the solution, we're going to get a dy dx expression and make it equal to 0. And from that, we will move on to solve for the x and then heading towards the y. Okay, now let's put it down systematically for your reference. Okay, first, what we need to do is run the chain rule with the purpose to get dy dx expression, okay, now which is the gradient expression. Okay, so this is the note for you. Let me just put it there. So this is the guide. Let me take a bigger brush. Okay, so that is the first procedure. Let's take the y, the equation the question gives to us, which is x squared minus 6x plus 13, and this whole thing is under a square root. Okay, so now we know about differentiation is the key idea is the indices. Therefore, before we run the chain rule, we want to make the indices super clear. So maybe let us rewrite this in the indices form. So x squared minus 6x plus 13, and instead of this notation, I will put the indice notation. Now the indices is very clear. All right, so now let's run the start chain rule. Okay, now let us recall what are the procedure to run the chain rule. The chain rule tells us that we are going to run the differentiation for the outside, okay, which is the function that takes in the first input from the purple. All right, so we know that it is a composite function where the y function, the quadratic, has been input into the green function. Now let's keep all the function notation and explanation. Let's start to run dy dx, and then for your easy reference, I will just put it down here. There will be two steps. First, we're going to work out the differentiating the outside, where I colored with the green, and then we're going to multiply with differentiating of the inside. That's where I colored that with the purple. Let's get started. Differentiating outside will give us the index multiplied to the front. That gives us the half of the x plus 13, and then now the index we're going to minus 1, that will give us negative 1 over 2. We have done differentiating the outside. Now let's move on to differentiate the inside. So when we differentiate this, we get 2x minus 6. Let's write that down. Bracket 2x minus 6. Okay, you have successfully fulfilled all the steps for the chain rule. Now what we need to do is just simply rearrange them. Okay, and so I'm going to put in the long division line. Okay, I'm just going to segregate the numerator to where it's supposed to be, denominator to where they're supposed to be. So that will give us the 2x minus 6. Okay, that is the numerator, and denominator, I'm just going to put a 2. And then, so now from the negative index, I'm just going to bring it down into the denominator, that the index now become positive 1 over 2. Okay, if you ever wonder how does that happen, the index rule tells us for anything with a negative index can be rewritten as positive indices like this. Okay, this is something we learn from index rules. Okay, so now let's take this away. Okay, now I'm going to take this whole thing. All right, this whole thing, let's copy and paste it down here. Now with the positive index, instead of negative 1 over 2, now it's become positive 1 over 2. That's it. So you have accomplished your dy dx expression. Let me write this one more time to make it visually convenient for you. Okay, so now we will proceed to the second step where we're going to use the information given to us. Now I'm going to write it down for your guide. Second step, okay, using the gradient is 0. Okay, let's put that into our mathematical expression. Okay, here we go. Now, gradient, which is in mathematics called dy dx, and for us, our dy dx is this whole thing. So we're going to take this equal to 0. Okay, this whole thing will equal to 0. You have fulfilled the condition that was given by the question. Now, what you need to do is simply find. So third, move on to simplify and solve for x. Okay, now let's color that up for you. So now we're going to take that and then solve for x. So how do we do this? This little intimidating, some big huge statement, if we just cross multiply over, multiply 0, everything will be reduced to 0. That's good news, right? So something very complicated now has become 0, and that gives you 2x minus 6 equals to 0. Okay, so if you ever wonder what happened, okay, I will just write it down just in case you may wonder how does that happen. So I just take this, so you got that 2x minus 6 equate to 0. Multiply this whole thing. There you go. So just cross multiply that, and it become like this. Okay, and you know that everything multiplied by 0, it becomes 0. So that is the steps that has made your life so easy. All right, so now let's go to solve for x. So 2x equals to 6. Nice and easy, 6 over 2, and you got your x as 3. There you go. So now the next step is you just need to find the y. So half of your mission done. Let me just finish this whole thing in this tiny little square where I'm trying to put this whole thing in one page. Okay, so now what you're going to do is the fourth and final step. The fourth and final step, what you need to do is just sub x equals to 3 into y, and your y will resurface. Now, also let me copy that so that easier for you to see the given equation y. Okay, this whole thing, we remember that it is like this. So now at the place of x, you're just going to sub with 3 minus 6 sub with 3 plus 13, and that whole thing equals square root, and you can use calculator and everything will surface, and that gives you 4 square root, and conveniently you got that as 2. Okay, so now you have officially get all your x and your y. Okay, now your answer. You have arrived at your destination, okay, and coordinates requested from you. Now you proudly, calmly presented the answer to them, where x equals to 3 and the y is 2. There you go. You have officially mission accomplished. That's all. All right. So I hope you enjoy the learning, and that's the end of this video. Looking forward to see you again in the next one. Okay. Always remember, happy learning and be awesome always. All right. Thank you. Bye bye. See you next time.